Barclay Mansion, even the dead are terrified. Something happened here. Something vicious and cruel. And no one got out alive. Not even you.
Hey guys, welcome to the developer interview here on PSVR without Parole. With me today is the creative director of the upcoming game, Wraith. It's such a long time. Wraith The Oblivion, Afterlife, coming early 2021. This is Erik Odeldahl. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did. Hi, nice to be here.
Oh, I know, Erik. Thank you for being here. It's nice for you to be here. Man, we have a million questions about Wraith, but maybe you can kind of set this up for us. Can you tell us just a little backstory about Wraith and what we should expect?
Can you feel it? Can you hear it pounding? Scratching at the walls. Itching to be set free. It's changing you.
Is that it? Are you sad, Alan? Are you afraid? Do you have regrets?
It's turning you inside out. Feel it, can't you? You know that deep within the rotten heart of the Barclay Mansion lies a truth only the dead can understand.
Absolutely. So Wraith The Oblivion Afterlife is a VR horror adventure exploration game based on one of the IPs in the World of Darkness. Wraith is a pen and paper role-playing game from the 90s where you play the role of a dead person, of a spirit of the dead. So that's what you get to do in our game as well. And this is the first time that the Wraith role-playing game has been brought to as a digital game, but also more significantly for us, it's the first time in VR. So you basically get to play as a character inside this Barclay Mansion, which is a large house where you died. And you get to figure out why you died and why, even though you're actually dead, there are still threatening things. There are actually worse things than dying.
That should be Wraith, the tagline of the game. I can see it right now.
So the thing with Wraith and all of the World of Darkness game is really that they're games about personal horror, where you are the monster. You play one of the monsters. You're not a human fighting Dracula or something like that. So it's all about it's a narrative game. It's a story about personal discovery in a way. It's also a game about being really, really scared a lot of the time, we hope. We're having lots of fun building it. It's going to be out fairly soon.
Nice. Well, listen, taking everything you just said, I basically want to go back and take everything you just said and deconstruct it line by line and literally dig into basically every single detail of this game. And the first thing I want to ask is personally, I know I talked to Andreas last time about this, but what is the World of Darkness for you? Like, do you have a personal history with it? Did you play these games growing up?
So I started role-playing games when I was like 9 or 8, like a Swedish fantasy role-playing game that a friend's older brother introduced me to, and then I'm actually still GMing games, not World of Darkness games right now. I'm preparing something for my groups, but to me, the World of Darkness, when they showed up in the 90s, they were these. I'm a bit ashamed to admit it. I guess they were basically role-playing games for cool people. In a bit, because the world of darkness is this dark and bleak, and also I mean it's a world that is very much like our own, but it's also full of passion and you know, and it's, to me, it was the role-playing games that really introduced stuff like, well, you can actually role-play love, and you can role-play hate, like real hate and stuff like that, so I actually had a couple of the rule books, the core books in the 90s. My group actually never played any of them. We tried, but I guess we were just back then a bit too much into other types of horror. I think we played a lot of Call of Cthulhu, etc. So the World of Darkness books is something I've kind of rediscovered, and I've kept reading all through these years, I mean, they do something very different still in the role-playing genre.
How do you take a game that's initially a pen and paper role-playing game, and obviously pen and paper has nothing to do with the VR game, right? How do you bring that into VR and make a game out of it in that sense, without like alienating the fans of the original work? So
the direction we chose is for Wraith the Oblivion has an incredibly rich lore, like all the World of Darkness games, an incredibly rich lore, and it has years of history, and you know, people have played it, and there are so many fans that know every detail about it. But on the other hand, it's also this is the first time we get to play a Wraith, and the first time in VR, and we definitely don't want to alienate people. So what we've done is we've basically chosen what we think is a good way to introduce people to the larger Wraith the Oblivion world. And exactly how we do that, I'd like to wait a bit more until we get closer to release and talk about it. But for us, it's really important that nobody is intimidated by the wealth of lore and history this has, but you know, we want our game to feel welcoming, and hopefully once they play our game, you know, they discover other World of Darkness things, or they, you know, read up on all the cool Wraith the Oblivion stuff there is. But it's and when it comes to rules and systems and gameplay mechanics, etc., there are tons of really cool things that you can do as a Wraith. And we try to incorporate that into our game, which means that yes, you get powers, like supernatural powers when you're dead. Of course you can do that. What is the first thing you expect a ghost to be able to do? Well, walk through walls, right? So of course you have to be able to walk through walls in a way in our game. We'll let you use other powers like Wraith Grasp, which lets you lift things, you know, heavy stuff. You can manipulate objects in the world around you. And also, Wraiths are very sensitive to sounds and light, etc. So you can basically use your Wraith senses to sense what is happening around you, and use your sharpened senses to lead you through the giant mansion to find your way around.
Are you going to be able to do all these things from the get-go, or these sort of powers that you unlock?
These are things you will unlock over time. I am a big fan of the kind of basically introducing stuff as you play. So first of all, you don't get completely overburdened with tons of systems that you don't understand.
Right.
But also, even though it's a horror game, and of course, you know, scaring people and telling an intriguing narrative is really important for us. We also want people to enjoy, you know, the sense of exploration and discovery. You know, yes, now I can do this, and it's important to us. You know, if you get a new power, insubstantiality. What does that mean for moving around the house? Maybe you can return to other places. If you can walk through walls, then maybe you can walk through, reach places you couldn't be able to reach before, stuff like that.
Yeah, not to use a really overused term, but am I sensing a little bit of Metroidvania gameplay mechanics here?
A little bit. I mean, it is an overused term. It's also a great way to give players to grow the world, to grow the game world for the players. You can direct them and introduce them to the world and let them figure out stuff, and then instead of just opening up a new level or now you've reached the lava planet, you can actually grow the world more organically around the player. So yes, a dash of Metroidvania.
Gotcha. Now you've mentioned things that are worse than dying. So obviously, this is somewhat of a stealth game. I'm understanding, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So there are enemies that you're staying away from, that you're kind of like. Is it typical stealth? Is it like, oh, I'm going to hide behind this counter over here, or is there something more to it because of what you're playing as?
So, we love games. I mean, and we love games like Alien Isolation and Amnesia. Games like that. And what we want to get for this game, we really want the player to feel defenseless. I think that's the general thing. To not have too many ways to actually escape a situation, except hiding and manipulating stuff around you. You won't be able to hurt your enemies, etc. These enemies are called specters, and they're another type of spirit of the dead. Basically, the dead that have lost all links to their humanity and become agents of chaos, more or less. So it's definitely, and VR is great for this, hiding behind stuff, peeking around, looking around, etc. So I guess you could say, in that sense, it's a classical stealth game. It's definitely not a stealth game in the sense of two other games that I absolutely love, like Dishonored or Batman Arkham games, where you're kind of a predator. You use stealth to position yourself in the best possible way to take down an enemy. You won't be able to do that in our game.
Gotcha.
Better stay out of sight.
And I don't know if this is revealing too much, but can you tell me what happens if you don't stay out of sight? If you're already dead, is it still like, oh, okay, game over, respawn point over here?
No, you're gonna have ways. I mean, it's not instant failure. Is not the best. We want to give players a chance to escape, so we give them tools for that. Yeah.
Excellent. It's so funny. You guys talk about Alien Isolation, Amnesia. I mean, some really scary games, right? Things that we all remember very fondly, and we've been begging for Alien Isolation in VR, but that's a whole separate interview with someone else, I'm sure. How scary is this game? Like, you must have played other PSVR horror games, and so in relation to other PSVR horror games, how scary are you finding Wraith to be right now?
So. This is a tricky thing because when you develop a game, you become used to the scares really quickly. But I would say that at times it's just really, really scary. Like, did you play Resident Evil 7 in VR?
Quite a few times, about 5 times from start to finish in VR. Terrifying.
So, the first time I played it, and your girlfriend comes climbing up the stairs.
Yes.
I almost died.
Same.
And I think we have that. I do hope we have that. It is, you can't make a horror game and half-ass it.
Right.
You need to basically say that, okay, we want to scare people. How can we scare them? What we said from the get-go was to never ever rely on cheap jump scares. So basically, we want to earn your fear. and it's a slower thing. It builds up. That also means it kind of de-escalates at times to give you time to breathe.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's really good to hear. I mean, horror games are by far my favorite genre of games.
Oh, that's good.
and hearing that this really stacks up to some of the best ones is great. Barclay Mansion looks fantastic. You guys did an amazing job. It looks very fast travel games without looking like anything like Apex Construct. Obviously, you guys have there's a certain style that I love about what you guys do, but when we say mansion, the first thing that comes to mind, I'm like, Resident Evil had a mansion, and that was pretty damn big. How big can we expect Barclay Mansion to be?
So, it is big. It's actually so big that we are talking about how do we make the best? Do we actually make the best use of every location? And so it's a large place. This is the biggest game we've built, easily. So,
do we get to go outside? Do we get to explore the grounds?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe you do.
Yeah. You can be like, Brian, we're not talking about that. It's okay.
No. We'll show more as we get closer to release. But I mean, it's a large place. It's a varied place. So, yeah.
Speaking of Apex Construct, can you tell us what you learned from making Apex Construct as a very early VR game, and then this being like your next really, really big one that you guys did on your own?
So Apex Construct was it was an early title, and for Apex Construct our mantra was basically, if it looks interactive, or then it is. You should be able to touch, lift, throw, whatever, everything that looks like you should be able to do that. Yeah. And we were really happy with what we had back then. I mean, I still love the game. I'm super proud of it, but I do feel that it is a bit lacking when it comes to, your physical interactions. So they are just that. We've been working on stuff like that since then, basically. And I think we're focusing more on making sure that the interactions you have in this game are, we call it meaningful interactions. It's really, really cool to be able to touch and throw and everything in the world. But I do feel that sometimes in Apex Construct you could do that, but it didn't really lead to anything. And I think we're basically trying to make your interactions more meaningful and building our game systems around the fact that you can interact with tons of stuff. Because even though you're a wraith, you're a spirit of the dead, that doesn't mean that you don't have, you actually have a very physical presence in the Shadowlands where the main part of the game takes place.
So you're able to, I mean, so say there's a bookshelf, because my favorite thing to do in any VR game is to pick things up and throw them. It's a very simple thing, to ask, but obviously a lot more goes into that, rather than just having a textured bookshelf that's just a flat thing. You want to be able to go up and take books off the shelf and throw them. Do I get to do that?
Yes, you'll be able to do that. And if it's all of the books or some of the books, etc., we're also building we're building a mansion that is a modern place. It's a building from now, where the place that the game takes place now-ish. So this is I think the biggest challenge creating games for VR is that you want to build something that looks realistic. You look around you and but you also want it to feel realistic. And there's these scales. If you add too much detail, the player is going to expect to be able to touch and move everything. And if you build too little, it just looks boring and weak.
Right.
So we try to find ways to basically let you interact with as many things as possible and basically clearly show what isn't interactive too.
Gotcha. This actually brings up one of our viewers' questions. Hibsy over on our Discord asks, Will the game be optimized or enhanced on PlayStation 5? Knowing full well that this game is past to the required date of all PlayStation 4 games to be playable on PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
It's and also that it's coming out after the launch of PlayStation 5.
Yeah. So I can't speak specifically about PlayStation 5, but what I can say is that we are always building games, to be as good as they can be on every platform we build them for.
Gotcha.
And that goes for a really good game for the base PS4, some enhancement for PS4 Pro, and then who knows what we'll come up with for PS5.
You guys kind of killed it with the Move controllers on Apex Construct. You guys committed to the Move controllers again? Or are you thinking about giving some DualShock 4 support as well this time?
So super committed to the Move controllers, and as for DualShock, I'm not sure yet. We'll think about it. We do support DualShock when it makes sense for the game. We did for Curious Tale, for instance. It's making something as interactive, and it's so important for us to have the player physically present in the spaces we build, and the Move controllers help so much with that. So I'll have to say we'll wait and see.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm reading through this press release that I've got, and it says that Afterlife shares the same universe as Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse, things that you had mentioned earlier when we first started talking about this, where monsters are real and living among us. Since they all share the same world, should we expect, or should fans of the series expect to see monsters from other universes kind of like interact in Wraith?
I think there's a definite possibility for that. I think for our, since we are introducing Wraith the Oblivion to the VR audience, really, I think we really want to focus on wraiths for our game. But it is a big universe, and there's so much to explore. So who knows what happens?
Excellent. I feel like we've kind of treaded through all sorts of different aspects of Wraith so far. But I feel like there's something. I bet if I just let you say whatever you wanted to say, you'd be like, here's something you didn't know about Wraith. Can you tell me something we didn't know about Wraith that we haven't talked about?
I could tell you, I am really, really proud of the script. I think we're telling a fantastic story. I think we're doing stuff with VR storytelling is also pretty hard. And I think we're doing some really cool things with this that I am really looking forward to seeing what players think about. It's a deeper story. Like I said, World of Darkness games are games about personal horror, and I think there's some really, I'm not going to say fun things, but there's some interesting aspects there that I'm really looking forward to hear what people think about. And I'm really also looking forward to see how people use the Wraith powers we give them, because a large part of VR and a large part of doing stuff is experimenting with the interactive, the opportunities to interact with the world, like powers or just physical interactions, etc. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what people do with that. I feel,
Excellent.
That's some things.
Nice. It's always a little tough to conduct an interview about a game that you haven't played yet or haven't even seen too much of. So far it's looking beautiful, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. But I think what I can't wait for the most, of course, second to playing the game itself, is touching base with you again after I've had a chance to play it and saying, okay, let's dive really deep into what we just played and talk about this again. So I think that's probably going to do it for today, because I'm more excited than ever, and right now it's early 2021, right? There's no that's the closest we have to a launch window.
Early 2021 is what we're saying right now.
Excellent.
And of course we'll share more details closer to the release.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Can we get a meow for all the game cats out there? Nice.
In Barclay Mansion, even the dead are terrified. Something happened here. Something vicious and cruel. And no one got out alive.